Welcome, welcome, welcome on in. Welcome to the 411 podcast. It's Tuesday, May 20th. Welcome to Transformational Tuesdays. Tonight, we have Size Me Up, episode 15, off of Dis 5 Restoration 411 podcast, Reading Between the Wines Mentorship series. Welcome in. Before we go ahead and get started, of course, I want to go ahead and give a very special thank you to my executive producer. Thank you, God. Thank you so much for another opportunity to come out here and do the 411 podcast. I also want to thank each and every one of you out there for supporting, liking, commenting, sharing, whatever you do to support the 411 podcast, Reading Between the Wines movement. I just want to say thank you so much. This is a journey, and there has been some peaks, and there definitely has been some valleys, but there's consistent uptick. I want to say that there's just been a consistent uptick, and it comes from every different direction. So, not one specific source. So, this is a community that's, I say, a global community because there's people from all over, all walks of life, different social media platforms. I want to say thank you so much to YouTube, everyone out there who is listening on YouTube. If you could please do me a favor and please um, please share. That would be great. I want to give a very special thank you to everyone who listens to the audio version. We have Spotify. Thank you so much to everyone who listens on Spotify. I appreciate you as well. So, doesn't matter whatever direction. I want to say thank you to Daily Motion team as well for helping fix the things that we had wrong in the beginning. So again, X is doing very well, formerly known as Twitter. So again, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone out there. And I spoke the other night about finally making it. I don't believe you get to a point where you finally make it. As long as you see movement, as long as you see progression and not regression, this is just what life is. This is a journey. And some people think, oh, when you make it, you don't have to work anymore. And I enjoy what I do. I think that that is one of the key factors. It's not work when you enjoy what you're doing. It becomes work when you don't enjoy what you do. So just think about that. And on that note, let's get on to this episode tonight. I want to give a recap of the last episode. So during the last episode, we spoke about Miss Clarissa from Richmond, Virginia. And this one, I would say, probably was one of the most, and I don't really want to use this term, but I will tonight. I want to say controversial because it was speaking about spirituality, speaking about church life, speaking about, different religions. It was an interesting show, put it that way. What happens with it, I have no idea. But I just basically spoke, you know, from the heart, from my experience. So I don't know who I'm speaking to. I'm just speaking from experience. But Miss Clarissa, she basically was giving to the church, and knowing that she was in debt, well beyond her means, which a lot of people do that, but she was maxing out her credit cards just to stay afloat, but giving to the church. And I'm not going to get into it, but I did say that if you go to any church, you have any congregation, you know, the list goes on and on. Any community, any group that is okay with you tithing, okay with you donating money to their scenario when you're in debt, and they don't have any programs, they don't have anything set up for their people, they don't have anything set up for their community to help educate and help get folks out of debt, but they're okay with you continuously digging yourself a grave. I got a problem with that. And I stated that in the last episode. So Be very careful, and be very careful of those prosperity preachers, people who say that, keep tithing, keep donating, keep praying, and God's going to, bless you with a miracle. Not saying that God can't bless you with a miracle. I'm not saying that. But where comes the part where faith without works is dead? Like, did you teach? Did you train? Did you give any advice that, okay, yeah, I get that you might be in a situation, and I get that you might have some financial strains and struggles, but you're going to have to work at getting out of this. No miracle, no magic wand is going to be waved and get you out of your situation. So that's just a little brief overview as far as what we spoke about in the last episode. So please go ahead and watch that if you want to get the full detail. And let's get into the song of the day tonight. And another one, we going in tonight. I just want to warn you that we going in. This is track 16, Size Me Up, Disc 5 Restoration. But before we do that, let's get into the song of the day. And I'm going to take a deep breath because this is going to be an interesting episode tonight. Song of the day, Take Me As I Am, by the Queen of Hip Hop Soul, Miss Mary J. Blige, released off of the 2005 Breakthrough album. So when we think about songs like Take Me As I Am, this definitely hits home. There was a time when I was worried about what everybody else thought of me. If you've been following me for a minute, if you have been rocking with me for a minute, if you have been listening to me for a minute, you know that there was a time when I didn't love myself. The person who you are listening to today was not the person that I was yesterday. I went through a life-changing situation between 2019 and 2020, and that's the reason why I'm here speaking today. But I would dress myself up. I would do certain things to get along with the get along. I would allow people to dress me up. I would allow people to push their opinions and their thoughts on me to shape me and mold me into the person that they wanted me to be because I didn't know who I was. And what I have to say to each and every one of you out there is be careful when you don't know who you are. Because when you don't know who you are, you allow people to be able to step in to manipulate, shape, control, mold you, and move you into the person that they want you to be. And trust and believe that if you have a good heart and you might be introverted, people will pick up on that. People will pick up on your what they think is a weakness, and it will move in and then start to play the game and shape you and control you and mold you into what they want you to be. Got to be very careful of the narcissist, because that spirit, that personality clings and is attracted to certain individuals. If you find yourself being a people pleaser, if you find yourself doing things to just get people to like you, if you think that if you wear this, someone's going to like you, if you think that if you go over here, someone's going to like you, if you think you do this, if you think you do that, ask me how I know, because that used to be me. I never had a voice of my own, and I'll take that back. I did. I just didn't know how to use it. I had a voice, but I didn't know how to use it. And I went a long life living like that. I only started speaking up in 2020. And here I am, 44 years old. Now you do the math. Now you got to be very careful, because even though I exited in 2020, that was my exodus. Sometimes that old version will sort of knock at the door to say I'm still here. So I have to get up and I have to fight every single day to fight the older version of myself. The older version is older. It thinks that it's bigger. It thinks that it's better. I don't know who I'm talking to. I'm just speaking from experience. But you got to be very careful. I went out recently. I had a little outing, and I went out and I found that it might have been very easy for me to slip back into that old version. Me being quiet, not saying anything, letting somebody else take center stage, which is okay. You don't always have to say anything, but you got to be very careful of falling back into old habits. So when I think about the song Take Me As I Am, before I even knew what the real meaning of that song was, 'cause I'm a fan, I've listened to that music for so long, I didn't know that it would actually come full circle and mean something. So what it means today is, listen, it doesn't matter what car I drive, it doesn't matter what clothes I put on, it doesn't matter how I look. When I look at myself in the mirror, I'm okay with that. Before, when I used to look at myself in the mirror, I wasn't okay with that. I didn't like who I was. I didn't know who I was. But today I understand and I know who I am. So I don't need all of the extra. I don't need to do the extra. I don't need to be a people pleaser. I don't need to go here. And, no is a complete sentence today. And I'm confident and I'm able to say that today. If you find yourself in a situation where it's hard for you to say no, you go places that you don't want to go, and you're worried about what somebody else has to say, you're worried about what someone thinks of what you're wearing, what you're doing, who you're hanging out with, you might still have some work to do. I worked hard for the past 5 to 6 years to get where I'm at here today. And I'm so, I want to say confident, not prideful. I'm very confident and I'm very thankful that I do not need any relationship to define me. I don't need any person to define me. I don't need a job, and it has nothing to do with money, and it has nothing to do with clothes and jewelry. None of that. So when I thought that I was singing songs like Take Me As I Am back in 2005, oh 05 basically, 2005, when I thought that I was really singing the meaning of it, it means so much more today. Because now that I'm actually taking myself first, I'm able to look in the mirror and say, okay, you did that. You got that. You're this, you're that. I don't need anybody to do any of that for me. So if you want to come by, you want to, show up, that might just be icing on a cake. And that's okay. Take it or leave it. This is still a full meal. This is still a whole situation that we have going on here. The party will still continue to because the cake is there. I don't know who I'm speaking to. I'm just speaking from experience, but be very careful when you feel that these clothes are going to make you, when you feel that this person's going to make you, when you feel that this relationship's going to make you, when you feel that something outside of you is going to make you into the person who you are. Everything starts with self and it starts from the inside. And it took me a while to figure that out. And I get that this is a journey. I get no, this stuff doesn't happen overnight. I understand, but stick around here long enough. Stick around, hang around long enough. If you might be feeling that, yeah, I'm tired of going to places that I don't want to go to. I'm tired of saying yes when I probably should have said no. I'm tired of people speaking about me and I'm feeling some sort of way because someone's speaking about how my hair looks, how my clothes look, the car that I drive, the house that I live in. If you feeling any of that, just stick around here for a minute because maybe I have something for you. And when my girl Mary says I can only be me, I remember in 2018, 19, I kept saying I can only be me. I can only be me. Comparing, with the X's and the Instagram and the Facebook and does he look as hot as I do? And how do I, switch this and change this up? And what do I got to do so that I'm it? And, I'm that it factor and I'm all of that. Yeah, I did all of that. And see, you know what? And I worked so hard stressing myself out, trying to, let's take it back to Sybil, make me over, having somebody make me over. Now, today, not that I'm being prideful, I'm not bragging, I'm not doing anything, but because I love myself from the inside, everything shows up on the outside. Because I love myself on the inside, everything shows up on the outside. So I don't need to worry about this and that, the next, the other. And then it just comes naturally. And now the right people, AKA the right person, the right people show up. And I'm like, damn, how did you even get here? You mean to tell me I don't got to fight? I don't have to fight for it? You just show up? That's because I took me for who I am. Take me as I am. I don't even have to explain this anymore. We don't even have to have this conversation, because when we show up, and when you show up, you're already showing up correct. If you have to sit there and tell somebody, take me as I am, you might have to tell them that. But then let's think about the last part of it, or have nothing at all. And if you can't make that decision on your own, then it's time that we need to be out. You don't have to go back and forth telling people so many times to take you as you are, because if you have to keep reminding people, then that means you are surrounding yourself by the wrong people. They're already going to know when they see you. They're already going to know when they see you. And it starts with you first. If you don't love yourself, then they ain't going to love you. And let me tell you that they can spot you a mile away. That narcissistic spirit is going to spot you a mile away if you don't have your stuff together, and if you don't know who you are. And if you don't, that's okay. But I'm going to give you this real quick thing here. It's okay, because I was there too. But everything starts with self. So if you're wondering, where do I start? What do I do? How do I figure? How do I love myself? Everything starts with self. Start with yourself first. Because if you don't love yourself, you can't love anybody else. Song of the day, Take Me As I Am, Mary J. Blige, 2005, off of the Breakthrough album. And yeah, just like that was a breakthrough moment for Mary J. Blige, it could be a breakthrough moment for you too, when you really learn how to love yourself. And it's okay. You might get it one day and you might not get it the other. And then you might get it, but then you might get tricked and you might get tripped up and you might stumble and fall. And you got to be careful. Like I said, when you don't know who you are, people will go ahead and move in and shape you and twist you and mold you, almost like silly putty, to make you into the person that they want you to be. And then when you start acting out, when you start doing things that are out of your character, they're going to be able to point and they're going to be able to say, he did that, she did that, look at her, look at that. And now you somewhere acting totally out of character, not even a person who you are. And that's because they shaped you and they mold you and they put you into that box and made you that person. Don't allow people to make you over. Don't allow people to write your story. We have the power, we have the energy, we have the movement to write our own stories. Don't let anybody else tell your story. That's why I'm here. 4-in-1 podcast, reading between the lines, because I refused. I knew that things were wrong. First of all, I knew that things were wrong with myself. And I knew that I needed to clean up, and I need to get up, and I need to walk on my own 2 feet, because this is a standalone spirit. This is a standalone situation here. And I don't need anybody, any job, any car, any money, any materialistic thing, any type of situation to define the person who I am here today. Easier said than done. I only woke up in 2020, and I have been living as a people pleaser, going along to get along, trying to get along with the Joneses, trying to move in with them. I used to do all of that. Keeping up with all of them, the Kardashians, this, that, the next, the other, switching up, changing up, ripping and running behind this one and that one, doing all types of stuff. Didn't even know who I was, didn't even like myself. Forget about loving, I ain't even like myself. Welcome on in, welcome on in. All right, we're going to get off of that. We're going to get off of that. We're going to move into the scenario tonight. We're going to head on over to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We helping out Miss Keisha tonight. And we're going to stay on this Take Me As I Am moment here. And I'll tell you a little bit about Miss Keisha here. Keisha, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. She's a freelance makeup artist. And Miss Keisha struggles with body image after gaining 50 pounds within 2 years. She buys new clothes every month on credit to feel better about herself. And while she's avoiding her mirror and she's avoiding her bills, she still wants to feel beautiful, but doesn't know where to start without going broke. Keisha struggles with body image after gaining 50 pounds in 2 years. She buys new clothes every month on her credit card to help make herself feel better. And out of that, she's avoiding mirrors and she's also avoiding her bills. She wants to feel beautiful again, but doesn't know where to start without going broke. So let's go ahead and break this down here. So she struggles with body image after gaining 50 pounds in 2 years. I don't know if anybody has ever been there where you don't like what you see when you look in the mirror. I'm not sure. But you're going to have to like what you see when you look in the mirror. And I would say, I did hear a piece here about avoiding mirrors. Don't avoid the mirror, because you can look in the mirror and say, oh, I don't like what I see, and then you hurry up and move past. You probably should spend some time looking in the mirror as long as you possibly can. And anything that you don't like about what you see, now you have something to move forward to try to fix it. But if you avoid mirrors and you don't want to look in the mirror, you don't want to look at yourself, everything starts with self, you already lost the game right there. That's the first part. You have to love what you see. And if you don't like it, then you got to fix it. Now, you can't fix it if you're avoiding it and you don't want to look and you don't want to face the problem. So that's the first thing that I see wrong here, is you're not spending enough time looking at yourself in the mirror, looking at what, you might want to change about yourself, what you may not want to change about yourself. But first of all, you got to be okay with it. When you're okay with it, the people around you will be okay with it. If you're not okay with it, the people around you are not going to be okay with it. Everything starts with self. What we experience on a day-to-day basis is basically based off of our thought process from yesterday. It's cause and effect. So I'm almost certain, without digging deep here, I don't know, this is only the surface, I'm almost certain that her internal dialogue clearly says that she doesn't love herself and doesn't like what she sees. As a result, she's buying new clothes every month on her credit card to feel better. Now I'm going to stop right there. If you are buying anything on your credit card and you don't have the means to pay it off, there's a problem. Anybody. So forget about Keisha. Let's just talk about anybody. If you are spending money on your credit card every single month, week, day, I don't care, and you know full well that you do not have enough money at the end of the month to pay that bill off 100%, you have already lost the game. I'll repeat that again. If anybody is spending money on their credit card to buy things, I don't care what it is. It doesn't matter about, oh, I'm buying, necessities. Oh, I'm buying this, or I'm buying that. I needed this, I needed that. If you are doing any of that type of movement, daily, weekly, monthly, who cares? And you know full well that you do not have the means to pay that bill at the end of the month, 100% off, you have already lost the game. You're paying for it multiple times over. So that one little item that might have cost you, and I'm just making this up, $20, by the time you end up, paying it off 100%, depending on your interest rate, you've bought that item over 2 or 3 times. Versus one time, if you had the money, or you want to go ahead and use somebody else's money and somebody else's credit, and now you pay for that same item over 2 or 3 times. So that's a problem. So these clothes that she's buying, she's spending it, basically paying for over and over again multiple times. And now avoiding mirrors. So, okay, so we're going to avoid getting ourselves together. I'm just keeping it real. We're going to avoid getting ourselves together. So we're not going to look at ourselves and say, okay, maybe I might need to diet a little bit. Maybe I need to look at my, you know, situation. So I'm not going to look at that. So I'm just going to spend extra money to buy clothes, which is going to cause issues and drive you into debt. Not to mention that if you have any health issues because you are neglecting the physical, I mean, you can't just go out and eat whatever you want to eat. And I'm just being serious. Like, you can't do that. I like food, I like to eat, but I know that there are also some limits too. And if you might not like what you see, maybe we might need to do some exercising. Maybe we might need to change our diet. It would probably be beneficial to do some of those things versus just covering it up, not looking at the situation, totally avoiding it, and on top of it, driving ourselves into debt. Now, I don't know what her weight situation is, what she looks like. It says gaining 50 pounds in 2 years. Neither here nor there. Obviously, there's something about it that she doesn't like. I don't know how much she weighs. If you gain weight, then that probably means that you were eating unhealthy. So we're going to continue to eat unhealthy, which is going to cost you money. We are going to buy clothes that we can't afford, which is going to cost you money. God forbid that there's any medical issue where we might need to be hospitalized due to our habits. That's going to cost you money. So, all around, this does not look like a good situation right off the bat. Most of our money goes into two buckets, two big major buckets. The first one is housing, and then sometimes the cars can come into play. But the major expense is housing, and you have to live somewhere. So, but when you look at your finances and you look at how much money you're spending on a monthly basis, it's probably not going to be a coincidence that your number one expense is food. And it also is not a coincidence that in the Bible, the first sin was surrounded with food. So, yeah, a lot of our issues has to do with food. And it starts there. And then it, spirals down into other things because we lust for, we want things, and we do a little bit too much. Now, if you're gaining weight consistently and you know that your habits are a little unhealthy, and you know it because you see it and you may become unhappy. So let's do some things to fix it, to reverse it, versus covering it up. Now, I'll be honest with you. When I was in a district manager driving around from state to state, I used to drive in New Jersey. I had the 5 boroughs of New York, and I also had some surrounding areas outside of the 5 boroughs of New York. And I also used to have a small part of PA. That was one of the most unhealthy times that I've had in my life. And it's no coincidence why I'm not doing that job anymore because that probably wouldn't end well. And I don't think that I would still be here speaking to each and every one of you if I had stayed on that path. I used to be in someone's fast food drive through at least 3 to 4 times a day: breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a snack. And Dunkin' Donuts was my favorite go to because I didn't start doing any store visits until I drove through a drive through first and had a cup of coffee. So that was no way to live. And like I said, 3 to 4 times a day. And when you're linked up with someone, whether it's your spouse, significant other, roommate, whoever, who has the same type of poor mentality when it comes to food and health, that's also not a good situation. So I don't know what Keisha's, dynamic is, but We only just get a little glimpse here. So if she wants to feel beautiful again, she doesn't know where to start without going broke. Well, the first thing I would do is stop using the credit card for food, clothes, whatever. If you know, and this is for anybody, if you know that you are broke, if you know that you have more month than you have money coming in, then we need to stop using the credit cards. You're going to have to thug it out. You're going to have to figure out whatever you need to do to just get off of it. It's like a drug. It's an addiction. Just don't use the credit cards. And I know because the first time that I did it, I said, "Oh, I know what's going to happen. Like yes, you're gonna have a little issue because you're used to borrowing and using somebody else's money." So at that moment, when you say that I've had enough, then you need to start looking at what you can do to make up. Do you have to get yourself a little part-time job? Do you have to get a little hustle? Do you have to sell something that you have? If you have jewelry, that is the best thing that you can do is start to sell some jewelry to help balance things out. After that, then we might need to look at what we're spending our money on. Look at your bills. Go back last month and see where did my money go. And if you can't look at ways to cut and control right then and there, then I don't believe that you have learned your lesson. And you might not be ready yet. But when you're sick and tired and you are sick and tired of being sick and tired and you do not want to go down this path anymore and you know that this is an issue and you feel that you're being boxed in and they're getting ready to close in, you'll find ways to make it work. And also, your mind will twist a little bit to where it will almost become like a game where you'll try to like find a way to make it work. You'll find a way to get off of it. And then once you've done that and you can maintain from month to month basis without using any of the extra credit that you've been using that's not yours, then you start to focus on, okay, so how do we pay this off? How do we knock this thing down month by month by month by month? So this is a an interesting situation here. Doesn't know where to start without going broke. First place is to stop using the credit cards. And then after that, we're going to need to do some real deep dive into, I want to say, the spiritual realm, because you got to know who you are. When you don't know who you are, now you're subject into doing some weird stuff, hanging out with people that you shouldn't be hanging out with, dressing yourself up, doing things just to try covering things up, basically just when you don't know who you are, covering things up. So I know that this is Transformational Tuesday, but a lot of these different things go hand in hand and they're all interconnected. But I would say definitely some real soul searching and need to focus on the spiritual aspect as well, because when you look in that mirror, you have to love what you see staring back at you. And if you don't, then you need to continuously look in that mirror until you figure it out. And Keisha here is avoiding it. But I want to say, and not trying to be, funny or anything, but are you avoiding those mirrors when you're putting on those clothes and trying them on? And that's only like temporary. Like you put the clothes on and you might think you look hot for a minute, but then when you sit in there and you realize that you got a whole bunch of debt that you have to deal with after you get done coming from that club, going to that party, hanging out with those fake friends that probably could care less about you today or tomorrow. And by the way, those same friends that, are sitting here talking and acting like they got it like that, they might be struggling just like you or even worse. And here we are trying to keep up with people and do things to hang out with people, and they could care less about us, first of all, and they just waiting for your downfall. And that's not everybody, but you have to be very careful about the people that you surround yourself with. And by the way, if you're surrounding yourself with people who have that type of mentality, it's not going to work for you. You're going to need to clean up a lot of different things. But again, that goes back to the spiritual aspect. Know who you are. Everything starts with self. So there's a lot going on here, and we can spend a lot of time dissecting this and going through this. But again, I only know just the surface material of this. So I would say, number one, stop it with the credit cards. Two, we need to do some real soul searching. We need to figure out why it is that you can't look at yourself in a mirror and find out what exactly it is that you don't like. And what you don't like, then we need to focus on fixing it. And this is a journey. This is going to be a process. It does not happen overnight. A lot of times, and I know I have been, you know, a victim to this as well. I've learned to just be okay today. I've learned to be okay with whatever the outcome is, whatever the situation is, and I don't force things. I used to force things. I used to be a control freak. I wanted to do everything this way, that way. I wanted it to be my way. And if it wasn't my way, trust and believe that all hell's going to break loose. But what I've learned now is that everything that happens for good. Everything happens for a reason. So if something doesn't line properly, if this relationship doesn't work, if this scenario is a no-go, today I actually sit back and I say, you know what, I'm okay with this. I get it. You're telling me right now that I can't have this. It's not mine. I'm not going to black out. I'm not going to get crazy like I used to. I'm just going to go ahead and accept it and move on. And when you can get to that point in your life, when if anything happens, because remember, everything that happens for good. We may not know why today the situation is a no-go. We may not know why today this relationship didn't work out. We may not know now today why we didn't get that job. I'm about to get ready to go on a whole tangent, and excuse me, but I told you that this was going to be this type of episode. But because we want so many things right now and here and right here today, and we got to have it, and it's this instant gratification, and it's just a society, and it's caught up in a matrix, and it's caught up into what everybody else portrays and wants. We single-handedly cause our own misery by forcing, controlling, thinking we can manipulate, thinking that we are in control of every single situation. I can't tell you how many people get upset because I didn't get this job. I didn't get this. I didn't get that. I can't have this. I can't have that. That's because that's exactly what that means. And God is trying to tell you that that's what that means. And if you don't believe that, then the universe is trying to tell you that that's what that means. And if you don't believe that, then Jesus is trying to tell you that that's what that means. And if you don't believe that, then Buddha is trying to tell you that's exactly what that means. I mean, the list goes on and on. We are all interconnected. We are all one. But we don't want to listen. We want to sit here and do what we want to do. And that's why we get the results that we get. I learned to just be okay with what I have today. I don't focus on what you have. I don't focus on what she has. I don't try to compare myself. The first minute that you compare yourself to somebody else, you're in a bad situation. You need to be looking in that mirror. You need to be looking at yourself every day. You need to be comparing yourself today versus the person that you were yesterday and trying to compete with that. So hopefully we were able to dissect this a little bit tonight and help Miss Keisha. But I've already warned y'all from the beginning. A lot of this, and can I just say that this whole season of all of these scenarios, and they just somehow there's a little piece of me in all of these. I'm sure people out there can relate and can understand too. Whenever we speak about these real life situations here, you're always going to find that there's a little piece of you in it. And if you haven't had that aha moment, if you haven't had that breakthrough moment, it's okay because tomorrow you have another day. If you get up tomorrow, you got another day. That's why we have to live in a moment, take what we can take, and move from that so we can get to the next level. And we got another day. If we wake up tomorrow, we got another day to do it. It's okay, we might be where we are here today, but tomorrow we got another day. God willing, we got another day. 609 200 1098. That is the official 401 podcast Reading Between the Wines hotline. Again, that number is 609 200 1098. That is the official 401 podcast Reading Between the Wines hotline. If you like what you hear today, if you want to chime in on a burning question, if you just want to say, hey, what's going on? How you doing? Please feel free. You can text me. You can also hit me up on any of my social media platforms. You can DM me, Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok. Let me know what's going on. Holla at your boy. I want to say thank you so much to everyone out there who is listening. If you can please do me a favor and please like, comment, share, subscribe, tag a friend, invite them on in. You never know what you're going to get here on the 401 podcast. Tonight, Transformational Tuesday, Size Me Up, Burning Questions. Can we truly transform our lives physically without first healing the emotional debt we carry in our bodies? Again, can we truly transform our lives physically without first healing the emotional debt that we carry in our bodies? Now, I say yes. It happens all the time. You can transform your life physically, whether you do it naturally or you go and get a surgery or whatever they got going on. Nowadays, they make it so easy. So, absolutely, yes, you can transform your lives physically without first healing any type of emotional debt or any type of issues, any trauma. Absolutely, you can. Now, I flip this with another question. How long are you going to be able to maintain it when you don't first heal the emotional baggage and the issues and the trauma that you have? Because that's one thing. I know so many people who go through and you see it. You can just scroll on Instagram. You can just look at the celebrities. You can just read somebody else's life. How many people do you know that go get surgeries and do all types of stuff and take all types of pills and crash diets and X, Y, and Z, and they're only doing it just so that somebody else can give them some likes, somebody else can comment, somebody else can do all of those things. They didn't heal what was going on the inside, and then they crash and they burn and they go back. And sometimes it's even worse than it was in the beginning. It's almost like people who win the lottery. They think that, oh, because I win the lottery, everything's going to be great. My life's going to be wonderful. About 80 to 90% of the people who win the lottery, within about a year or two, they're back in debt and most likely in a worse situation that they were before they even won the lottery. Because if you can't handle it, you're not prepared for it. Same thing when it comes to getting your body under control. Because yes, the likes might come, the comments might come, people might pay attention to you. But are you ready for that if you haven't emotionally got yourself together? If you haven't mentally got yourself together to be able to handle the new version of you? If you haven't put that hard work in to be able to say, okay, listen, it took me a year, it took me 2 years to get this body into shape. It took me, 2 years to say that I'm not going to eat the way that I used to eat. And I've disciplined myself to do things a little bit better. So I don't care any type of relationship that comes by. I don't care, whatever the situation may come by. I'm going to stand on my ground because I know who I am and they are not going to drag me back to hell. When you don't do your inner work first, all of that extra stuff that you are doing, sometimes it can be temporary. I'm not saying that that's always the case, but sometimes it could be just putting a Band-Aid on. So you can transform your life physically without first doing any of the healing, but I don't think it would last. Now, when we look into this question a little bit deeper, can you truly, the key word, truly transform your lives physically without first healing the emotional debt? I would say no. You have to do your work first. I will tell you this, I was not always happy with myself. Not the way that my physical appearance looked. I used to always think that I just didn't, I don't know what it was, but I just did not like myself for a very long time. I would say that in 2020, there was something happened and something clicked. And I started to focus on myself, and then I started to say, oh wow, look at this, look what's happening here. I started to transform. And I listen, it just happened that way. Now I look at myself, not that I'm being conceited or any of this, but I don't run from looking at myself, put it that way. I used to avoid, just like Keisha here, I used to avoid the mirrors. I didn't want to look at it. I wouldn't stare at myself too long. But I also would compare myself to people. And I finally one day I said, you know what, Laren? Instead of you sitting there disliking this person, disliking that person, because I was very not the person that I am here today. I was very pessimistic. I was very negative, very disrespectful. Like I wouldn't want to hang out with the old version of me. And anybody who broke up with me, didn't want to date me anymore, trust and believe I get it. I understand. I wouldn't want to date me either. I wouldn't want to be around the old version of me either. One day it clicked though. And I said, you know what? I am not going to sit here and get mad at this person because they look like what I want to look like. I'm not going to get mad at them because they put their work in. I'm not going to get mad because they were in the gym. I'm not going to get mad because they don't eat, fast food 4 times a day like I was. I'm not going to get mad at that person. What I need to do is actually do my own work. And I did. And I remember when it finally clicked and the summertime did come, and I was okay walking around the beach with my shirt off. I was okay walking around, you know, the way I could walk around today because I was like, I did my work and I can't get mad at the next person because they did. But I used to get mad at people. Like, how you going to get mad at somebody because they working hard on themselves and they're putting in their work? But I used to. So that was very toxic. That was very dysfunctional. That was very disrespectful. And I did not heal all of the emotional and the baggage and the nonsense from my past. And that's why I was able to think that way. And I was able to give people attitudes and mean mug people that most of the time, people I didn't even know. Jealousy, envy, wanting what somebody else has. And I said, I'm not going to do that anymore. I can't get mad at somebody. What I'm going to get mad at a complete stranger because I didn't want to do my work. Because I wanted instant gratification. Because I would, work out for like a month and think that everything's going to change. So, no, I don't believe that you will be truly healed. I don't think that you'll transform yourself 100%. And it might be an 80 or 90%, but you got to be very careful because some people, when you don't do the work internally first, and you don't look in the mirror first, and you don't look within yourself first, and you constantly looking outward, looking towards people, places, things to validate you, you might find yourself going back to square one. And just think about that lottery scenario. People who get and win the lottery, 80, I believe it's 85 to 90% of them. It might even be higher than that. It might even be 95%. They end up losing all of their money within the first year or two and end up going back into debt. And more times than not, they end up in worse financial situations than they were in the beginning. It would have been better off if they had not won the lottery. And the same thing when it comes to people who do these surgeries and crash diets and pills and these weird tactics that they do, these people taking these injections and medicines to lose weight. And the minute that you stop, at least I've heard with some of these new things out there, the minute that you stop, you go back even worse state than you were in the beginning. So you might as well just do it the right way and start internally first. I say start on your spiritual journey first. Then after you're spiritual, you don't have to get that mindset together, because that mindset is going to stop you from those poor habits that you were subjected to. And then after you get that mental together, where you start to build some walls up and you start to build your fortress up so that the nonsense from the outside can't come in, then you can focus on the physical aspect. But that spiritual and that mental, they're going to have to be best friends, because you're going to need that before you get to that physical aspect. It's a journey, it's a process, and it does not happen overnight. And yeah, I don't believe that you can switch it on like a light switch. Although, listen, out there nowadays, you never know what you can get. It's We're in a different time right about now. You can have anything you want. And I've been listening to, I don't know why. Well, I do know why, but that might be too much information. But there's the song by the Pussycat Dolls that I like when I grow up. And I like the beat, first of all. I like the Dark Child beat off of it. I could just listen to the instrumental. But in there, be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. You just might get it. Burning questions. If you want to chime into tonight's burning question, please go ahead and text me at 609 200 1098. That is the official 411 podcast Reading Between the Wines hotline. Again, that number is 609 200 1098. You can also DM me and reach out to me on any of my social media platforms. Everything is at Laren Gaines. Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, TikTok, DLive, Twitch, Daily Motion. Before I get out of here, I want to say thank you so much to each and every one of you out there for stopping by. Thank you to the new people who just joined. If you can please like, comment, share, subscribe, whatever you need to do to help support. I appreciate you. I thank you. I see you. And I love each and every one of you. Thank you to my family and my friends who rock with me. And we growing and we growing and we growing. And I want to say thank you so much. Now, you can also head on over to LarenGaines.com. That is my official website for anyone who is interested in anything that you learned here tonight. If you learned something, if there was a little spark, if there was a little aha moment, and you want to learn a little bit more, you can head on over to LarenGaines.com. You can sign up for my free monthly newsletter, Whispers of Wisdom. You get inspirational, you get exclusives, you get updates, you get all of this debt-free living from the spiritual, mental, physical, financial aspect wrapped up all up into one single emailed to your inbox once a month. You can get that at LarenGaines.com. There's also a section in there if you would like to learn more about becoming debt-free. You can sign up for a free 15-minute consultation. And again, everyone's journey is different. My journey does not look like yours. Your journey does not look like hers. Her journey does not look like his. Everyone has their own story, their own journey, their own time. So if you want to learn more of how I can help you help yourself, keyword, how I can help you help yourself, because this is no magic situation. Just like what we're speaking about tonight with these transformations, you're not going to be able to wave a wand. There's no magic here. There's work. And I'm interested in helping people who are willing to put in their work and willing to do their work. This is not for everyone. If you still want to swipe the credit cards, if you still want to spend beyond your means, if you're still concerned about what the next person says, if you're still concerned about what the next person does, this might not be the program for you. If you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, if you hit rock bottom and you hit low and you can't get any lower, when you think about swiping and spending and doing, it makes you feel a certain way, this program might be for you. Head on over to LarenGaines.com. Sign up for that free 15-minute consultation. Now, tomorrow night, I can't believe it's here already. Wind Down Wednesday. This is part of the mentorship series. We have spiritual Sundays, we have mental Mondays, we have transformational Tuesdays, we have wind down Wednesday, we have coaching session Thursdays, and we have financial Fridays. Tomorrow, though, it's wind down Wednesday. My special guest, author Birdman313. We have been focusing at least 3 weeks in a row here. So, yeah, come back tomorrow. Same place, same time. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you. Same place, same time, 7 p.m. We're going to have great conversation. We're going to speak about all of the things we're speaking about here tonight, from the spiritual, mental, physical, financial. You're going to get that all wrapped up tomorrow. We're going to do some reading of some books. We're going to sip on some wine. And we're going to wind down. It'll be a more relaxed. You're going to have some laughs. That's what typically happens. Typically happened on Wednesday. And yeah, you get to hear from my special guests and we go back and forth. So you never know what you're going to get when you come here on the 4-on-1 podcast, Reading Between the Wines. You never know what guests are going to show up. So stick around. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, follow, tag a friend, and hang out with us right here. And on that note, I want to say thank you so much. Have a good night. And I'll see you when I see you tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Wind Down Wednesday right here. Good night, y'all.